Besties. You've found your community bestie to share thoughts and opinions, recap the shows we love,
Having too much fun.
Bravo should be fun.
and have piping hot gossip sessions about the celebrities and Bravo lebs we love, hate, and love to hate.
He went on a podcast claiming he had a threesome with 2 women from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Immediately, I was like, I wonder if it's Brandy and Carlton.
I'm Caitlin Marshall, your pop culture and Bravo bestie.
Allegations, allegedly allegations.
And if you enjoy fun conversation between friends, listening to your bestie rant about shows we can't get enough of, plus enjoy a little bit of, well, ridiculousness.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. There's a spider that is coming down. Hold on.
Oh my God!
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my God. Has anybody seen my ring?
Oh my God.
I don't want to ruin the party or anything.
Have you seen my ring? Oh my God. Can you look on the floor for my ring? God, someone's gonna kill me.
Don't mess with me because I will come. What? Oh.
Feel free to leave that in for whatever entertainment purposes.
You're in the right place. So thanks for joining me on Besties by Bravo. Hi, besties. Thank you for joining me today. And I just realized I forgot to plug my computer in, so it's going to die if I don't. We'll take a break at one point to do that. I'm running late today because let me tell you, this summer house finale, besties, it was a lot. It was a lot. So bear with me. I was literally doing my notes up until, well, 5 minutes before I was joining you because I have pages and pages and pages. Wow. I have a lot of thoughts. Before this, I was, if we put it in a percentage type of thing, I would say that I was 100% Lindsay, 0% Carl. This episode brought me to a place where I was like, okay, I'm 97% Lindsay and 3% Carl, only for the sole purpose that Carl actually went through with doing the hard thing. He actually put in the work of calling it off. Something that I think needs to be pointed out is if Carl had broken up with Lindsay when she had questioned his sobriety, we as a collective audience would have understood. But instead, he went with an agenda to try and activate Lindsay all summer so that he wouldn't look like a monster. And in the end, he made himself look bad. Y'all, it's been a day. I am trying to get myself together. I'm so glad you're here with me. Like I said, I am going to have to take a break at some point to plug this poor little Mac in because it's been tapping away with all the notes. And let me also say, I'm not going to get into the Bravo gossip today because I talked with Giorgio and Thursdays are for the besties, right? And we collectively decided that this Thursday, we are going to have the hottest, juiciest, scorching gossip session instead of it just being one of the regular recaps. So that's what is going to be coming then. So I didn't forget about the gossip. Don't worry. We're going to get there because there's a lot. And we're going to touch on some of the New Jersey. I had one of the besties reach out to me on Instagram. Kay was like, Caitlin, why aren't you doing Jersey? And I've gone back and forth with everything with the reunion being canceled. We have a lot of things we can talk about regarding New Jersey on Thursday. So I'm just going to get straight into Summer House because this has been, it's been a lot. I don't want to compare it to Scandival, but it's not really comparable. I felt, y'all, I had tears rolling down my face, and even rewatching that, the full, I don't even know if Peacock was extended. It was a long episode, at least for Summer House, but I was like tearing up again toward the end because I was like, God, no. Okay, here we go. Let's just hop in. So we pick back up with Carl saying to Lindsay, "You're really, really good at playing victim. Like, you don't give a about my emotional feeling around it." And she's like, "I do. That's why I'm asking you questions." And he's like, "And I'm asking you to do something different." And then he gets pissed that she's saying she can't just completely change her entire person for him in this sense. And she is good at playing victim? Carl, come on. You are saying you are a victim of questions. Murdered by questions. They don't have a category of homicide for that, Carl. So, mm-mm. But at this point, this is when Lindsay has had it, as have all of us. Okay. I feel for both of them to an extent, but I feel for Lindsay wanting this relationship at that time. But holy moly, they did not need to get married, period. This looked miserable. What part of this relationship looked enjoyable to y'all? Because it looked like a whole lot of hell no to me. Okay, let's just be real. She gets up saying she's just going to go enjoy the party now. And Carl just goes, "No worries. Remember when he had that little catchphrase he was doing where it was like, less stress, no worries, more life, more softness and tenderness." So Lindsay goes to talk to Danielle, and she's just kind of giving her the rundown of the argument that she and Carl had. I mean, which one? And Lindsay's telling Danielle how Carl wants hugs and for her to tell him, "Great job," after every little thing that this man does. Danielle goes, "I'm sorry, Lindsay, but you are never going to be that person." Like, was that some subtle shade, but also like her being like, "Yeah, that's not you. We know you." Gabby joins the conversation, and Danielle is telling Lindsay that she is soft in so many ways that are so beautiful. And she's telling her that Lindsay is wanting something out of Carl that he's not providing, but that Carl is putting the burden on her. I don't know that that's the correct assessment, in my opinion. It more so seems that Carl is wanting something out of Lindsay that most people couldn't give in that moment unless they're your mother. Yeah. And Lindsay ends up saying that she is done coddling. Okay. He had 10 months sitting at home trying to figure out what the F he wants to do. And I don't have a coddle left in me. The coddle is gone. I can't stand his face right now. I don't know why she turns into Shannon Bedore for me, but she kind of does sometimes, like when I'm saying it out loud. But all I could hear was coddle, 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 coddle. Jesse is outside flirting with a girl, and like, let me just be honest here. Jesse has really grown on me and has had some real actual things happening in his life. He's brought a lot to the show, and he and West have been the best male casting they have had on this show since conception. Let's just be real. But this man really is kind of a dirtbag, and I hate that we women will fall for the type of stuff men like Jesse do. Because he tells the girl, "Oh my God, you're like so tiny. I have to like, sit down just to be on eye level with you. You're like so petite and tiny." Like, why do we women love that? Why? When a guy makes us feel petite and pocket size? God, why? 'Cause we just want to feel small, but like also big at the same time, you know? So the party's continuing and everyone is having lots of fun and there are fire dancers and it's kind of cool, they're doing their thing. But Carl is walking around sulking and pouting like a full-blown toddler. He says in confessional that Lindsay can bounce back from things like the arguments, but she can go drink and have fun across the party, but he can't. Like, honestly, yes, Carl, I understand that it's frustrating that she gets to go drink and enjoy herself when you can't. It is the choice. It's the choice you made, which, might I add, is a very healthy and good choice that you've made. However, it is your choice nonetheless to do that. And I will concede, saying I also can understand having resentment that you're not able to drink to that stopping point that some people can. And those people can choose to cut themselves off. I'm not saying Lindsay is always the best at doing that. However, I am saying I can understand having resentment toward the collective public who is able to do that. All right. But this is yet again why you can't be in a relationship, Carl, with someone who drinks if it's something you're going to resent that person for, instead of acknowledging that it's not actually their fault or really even yours for that matter. But he says this is one of the loneliest moments I've ever had in the house because he's anxious and fearful. Okay. So Sierra, Paige, and Amanda talk more about Sierra and West. And Sierra is saying people view commitment as shackles, but points out all the great ways that commitment can actually be fun. And, you know, this I had to make a little note of this because what again was Carl wearing at this party? It was like Michael Jackson ran through a Joann's fabrics and just said, "Here, I'll add some tassels." I tried my voice short circuited on me. That's fine. But this girl goes up to Carl and she's like, "I like your jacket. It's, kind of like Michael Jackson. Is that what you were going for?" And he just goes, "No." He's, what is he going to tell her? He needs her to be more soft and tender when giving him a compliment on his jacket. Okay. Danielle and Balloon Guy, go bang. Good for you. Kyle ends up at the end of this night asking Carl about what happened with Lindsay. And Carl tells him he was giving Lindsay a download of the conversation with Kyle, and that Lindsay was asking question after question after question, and that he doesn't need that. He thinks that as he's coming into his sobriety, that she's not fully embracing it, and that at times it's hard for him being sober. Then he says this. Carl says, "I'm that way with her abandonment issues. I'm very understanding and try to remind her how proud I am of her." Really, because you're about to abandon her at the end of this episode. And proud of her for what? Like for not being activated as much because you renege on that. Like, okay, all right. Don't go in so hot, Caitlin. We're only 12 minutes in. Okay. Carl then says that Lindsay uses her abandonment issues as a way to be stronger. Well, yeah, Carl. She turned her pain into something she could benefit from. Tell me, is that supposed to be a bad thing? That you take experiences in your life that were not your fault and you choose to, instead of harboring them and turning them into something that is relentlessly negative for you and those around you, which I'm not saying she doesn't allow it to be negative for those around her at times, okay? But truly, is she supposed to instead use the abandonment issues to victimize herself? Now, this is where I'm going to take this the right way, please. But he's using his own substance abuse issues as a way to victimize himself. Is he a victim of having the disease of alcoholism? Yes. But it is not anyone else's fault, including yours, Carl. So quit making this about you being a victim. You love saying how much Lindsay plays a victim. Yet you have been the absolute professional at playing a victim all season. And I find it, it's fascinating because apparently, from what I understand, what he was saying is he wanted to try and be an actor. He's been acting all season. Maybe he could have done that. Anyway, he says to Kyle that he and Lindsay are different in how they navigate their traumas, that he does like someone who cares about how they make other people feel. And then he says, "I don't think she cares about how she makes me feel or other people in her life. And you know exactly what I mean. She's always justified in her feelings." Okay, I'm going to give Carl the few bones I can give him. Okay. Yes, Lindsay does find ways to be completely justified in all of her feelings. We do have to acknowledge, yes, feelings are not indeed facts. But in my opinion, feelings are not necessarily wrong. It's how you feel. But just in that feelings aren't necessarily wrong, they also are not facts. Okay. So everyone's winding down for the night. And because we see in that preview for the reunion, when West is asked, or West and Sierra both, I should say, is asked what happened between them when the cameras went down. And West is like, oh, yeah, well, the Bravo fan base is predominantly women. He has just been in complete and total fuckboy in training, or he already was. And he was trying to make us think he wasn't. But he gets into Sierra's bed and he's like, you called me baby tonight and I liked it. She tells him it's because he was dripping water all over the place. I mean, I don't necessarily call people baby over that. I'm like, get a mop, baby. He tells her not to downgrade him and she asks him if he's a pet name type of person. And he goes, not really, but I like baby. I mean, I would call friends baby. Listen, Sierra is on to this man's and I love it. Because she's like, oh my God. Of course you do. Of course you do. Of course. He's truly just like so out of touch on so many levels. And it's like, let me put it this way. I don't know if he's intentionally trying to come off as being out of touch. Like, oops, well, I guess I just didn't get it. Or if West literally doesn't get it. I don't know what it is. But he says to her to take this even further. Isn't it weird how if I said I love you downstairs, everyone would freak out? But if I said it to Kyle, nobody would blink. Well, West, because as far as we know, you're not interested in joining bodies with Kyle. Are you? Jesus Christ. So she tells him it's all about intention and that he makes everything so insignificant to the point that nothing is a big deal. And she doesn't know what is significant to him. Like meeting the parents, pet names, I love you. Nothing has significance to this little boy. He literally does make everything a joke. But I think it's a combination of shielding himself from rejection and to also convince himself he truly doesn't put any weight on anything because it is his armor. Okay. He thinks he's saying it's a good thing to call each other baby. And she's trying to explain that it's not that, but that he's now downplayed even using pet names. And he goes, I get where you're coming from. Do you hate me now? Oh my God. He is a fuckboy dressed in sheep's clothing. Run, Sierra. Oh, Carl and Lindsay are going to bed. And the dramatic music they added to it was kind of cracking me up because it's just like that night vision. And it's just like beady eyes blinking. And they're both just like, I don't want to touch you, babe. Babe, I hate you. I hate you too. Like, it's just kind of weird. So the next day, Carl just says, morning to Lindsay. And I don't know how to explain that. It was the most aggressively passive aggressive way he could have done that because the way he did it. God damn it. Lindsay says in her confessional that she knows this is not how it's always going to be between them because they're not always going to be planning a wedding and that he's not always going to be without a job. Lindsay, I don't know that I would say that so confidently. Sorry. But she says she knows partnerships have ebbs and flows, but that it's exhausting. Yeah. It's exhausting to watch. So everyone goes out to the pool except for Lindsay and Carl. Now, Lindsay is cleaning up the kitchen. And do you notice Carl is doing F all to help her? Mr. Hard Work. Jesus. I mean, the way I'd be like, is there anything you could do in here? Give yourself a freaking activity, please. But he asks Lindsay what she wants to do today. And she's really like, I am not going to Montauk, not in the cards for me. And he's like, well, I know that band Arizona is playing, and I'm playing golf tomorrow. Who cares, Carl? I don't know. Anyway, he says yesterday wasn't great and that he tried to share how he's feeling emotionally about his career and stuff, and that he feels like it turns back around on him. And then he tells her he just really could not snap out of it after their argument. And she's like, I know, I could tell. And he tells her that's probably the worst time I've had in the history of coming to a party, and I don't know what to do. The worst? The worst, Carl? The worst? Really, Carl? Carl? Lindsay tells him that what he's looking for from her regarding his career is not realistic. And she says she asks a lot of follow-up questions because of who she is as a person and who she has always been, Carl, for the last 8 years that you have been besties with her. She says that he doesn't want her advice, but he's like, I do, and I just want something different. Okay. So my personal best guess at this point is that he wants her tone to be different. All right. Like, I'll throw him the bone, but at the same time, he has had 10 months to figure this out. And I have a feeling her tone comes from a place of very deep frustration. But he says he wants something different than the questioning and the coaching. I don't want that in my wife or fiance. I don't. And I didn't think I signed up for that with you. Again, Carl, you have been friends for 8 years. What exactly did you think you signed up for? Oh, let me get Lindsay in therapy and she'll be a whole new person. Because that's not how therapy works. Because even if it's something like, okay, I stopped drinking, so I'm going to be a completely different person. Well, you're going to be a completely different person from the person you were when you were drinking and the person who had anxiety the next day and was coming down from a hangover, I'm sure. But you don't completely change who you are at your core unless you have a strong desire to. Let's say that. He then said, Then she just was like, that was rude. That was very rude. I'm just pointing that out. I want y'all to know she was not getting activated when, I'm sorry. Why don't we put this into perspective? Yes, Lindsay can be a goddamn monster. We all know this, okay? But if my partner I'm about to marry says that he doesn't want any coaching, questioning, and he doesn't want that in me. But aside from saying that, he says that's not who I want in my wife or fiance, as if that could be someone aside from me. Number one. Number two, then he says, and I didn't think I signed up for that with you after having known you for 8 years. Oh, murder. But Carl's just kind of like, okay, thanks. My intention was not to be rude. She asks him not to make digs like that. And he goes, okay, but Lindsay, I want a lover. Please don't say, I don't know. It's a personal preference. It's like how some people hate the word moist. Don't call me a lover. That's weird. I don't like it. I want intimacy. A partnership is also you caring about how I feel and how you're making me feel. And Lindsay's like, those are fighting words again. It's not me making you feel. And he says it's fighting because of how she is receiving the words he's giving her. Oh my God. I mean, can you imagine trying to have a productive. Now, there is such thing as healthy fighting between couples, but can you imagine trying to have any type of productive conversation with this man? I mean, he is just immediately tit, tat, tit, tat. He tells her he's not fighting yet and that he's trying to communicate, but that she shuts him down by saying he's fighting her. She's shutting you down, young man, old man, sir, because there is clearly a fight impending doom. But he's just getting pissed, saying, it's bullshit, over and over. And she's like, why are you getting so angry right now? And he says it's because she just keeps shutting shit down. But she's like, I'm trying to understand your needs, Carl. We all are collectively at this point. It is exhausting. I mean, it's exhausting. It's mhm, mhm. Oh my God. Outside, Kyle decides he's going to go, quote unquote, pee inside. And the girls call out that, are you really? You don't have to just pee because you always pee outside like a potty training toddler, Kyle. And, you know, here's the thing. We know messy ass Kyle has an idea of what may be going down inside. They have those windows he can see. He sees the lights. He sees the cameras. Y'all, he sees the arms waving. Kyle may be obnoxious at times, but I don't think he's fully stupid. Kyle walks into Carl asking Lindsay if she trusts him to figure out the career thing on his own. And when I tell y'all, I was howling, laughing out loud at this because Kyle and I do have something in common. We are both nosy as hell, have a love apparently for mascara and eyeliner. But I mean, I have told y'all, I will break my damn neck pressing my ear against a wall if I hear someone having an argument. I want to know the details. Can you talk louder? I'm going to press a cup to the, and that's what I say about all of us who love reality TV. It's because we're nosy. We are nosy as hell, and I am not ashamed of it, God damn it. So Kyle's in there with the eyeliner and mascara going down his face. And, you know, at this point, he may as well just be in the kitchen. He's in Club Send It, but he may as well be standing in the kitchen as he's pretending to, like, take dust off of wires that have no dust on them. Kyle's brave with his nosiness, let me just say. But then back into what's actually happening in the kitchen, Carl asks Lindsay if she believes that he can be successful. And Lindsay goes, I think that you could be successful at a lot of different things. And then I swear to effing God, Carl goes, well, the emphasis on could. She just gave you confirmation, Carl. She just gave you the confirmation. Let me ask you something, Carl. Are you successful right now? You're on a semi-successful TV show. What are you doing? You're successful at spending money and annoying me. He says that she's not championing him and that she's questioning herself. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. He says she's not championing him and that she's questioning herself when she's delivering that back to him, that he could be successful at a lot of things. And she's like, no, that's not at all true. Oh my God. And then Carl says he wants her to be like, yes, babe, you're a fucking rock star. You're awesome. Are you kidding me? What are you being a rock star at? Gaslighting? God. So he tells her that there are two ships passing in the night and that he doesn't know how to get aligned with her. And he says, I'm just growing concerned that we cannot resolve our conflict. We literally cannot do it. And that's starting to get her attention a bit more. And she's like, well, what are you saying? And he tells her that before they get married, they have a lot of things they need to iron out because they are both experiencing some things that they need to be honest with each other about. And she goes again, so what are you saying? Like you don't want to get married? He's like, I didn't say that. But she points out that he's beating around the bush, which is exactly it. When he's just been saying how they really need to be honest with each other. He is trying to force her hand. I feel like at this point, he is just trying to be as absolutely irritating and infuriating as possible so that she'll be like, you know what? Nope. But Lindsay said, absolutely not. And he then says that he's starting to have second thoughts because it scares the shit out of him that their resolution of conflict is never going to go away. And the second thoughts thing is what catches Lindsay's attention. And she says, well, maybe that's a bigger conversation if you're having second thoughts. And he tells her he's committed to trying to work on stuff, but that I'm just expressing how I'm feeling in this moment. And she's like, hear you loud and clear. And then Carl is just, he gives the soap opera look down, slowly look up through the eyelashes moment of, and today was our anniversary of our engagement. The thing is, though, he's acting like she is the one who ruined their engagement anniversary. So, that it wasn't about him having a meltdown over her asking questions. Remember, murder by questions. Okay. He says it feels off with how they're dealing with this compared to a year ago. She's like, listen, every relationship has ebbs and flows. And he's like, I get that. I get that. Yet, when it's good, it's amazing. And when it's bad, it's horrible. So she's like, all right, Carl, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? And oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Carl goes, in this moment, can I get a hug? There's nothing wrong with anyone asking for a hug. There's also a time and a place. The way I would have been like, I do not want to hug you right now. I want to go hug a cactus before I hug you right now, okay? And she's keeps saying just like, in general, what do you need from me? This whole moment reminds me of that. Remember that Kardashian sound, Kourtney Kardashian sound that was going around for a minute where it was like, can I get a hug? And Kourtney just goes, no, thanks. That's what it reminded me of. But Lindsay's really just like continuing to ask what Carl needs from her in general as she goes over to him. And he's just like, I just want a hug right now, if that's okay. She gives him this hug where she is like dead-eyed, hostage face. And this turns into like the most cringy hug in a long time that I can remember. And he just keeps saying, harder, squeeze me, hard, one more squeeze, harder. Carl, I thought you wanted softness and tenderness, Carl. Here you are asking to literally be railed into the ground via a hug. Softness, tenderness, hard softness. Okay, this is getting disgusting. He says to her, you used to like my hugs. And she walks off saying, I still like your hugs. As Kyle is pretending that his DJ equipment wires still need to be cleaned. Okay, y'all. Give me less than 1 minute. I'm taking a short break because I got to plug this computer in because I made an oopsie. Give me 30 seconds. I swear I'm more professional than this. Okay. 1 moment. Go have a snack, grab a drink. 1 sec. And I'm back. Told you I would be. Okay, now my computer won't die on us while I am in the middle of this recap. That's the first time I've ever done that. Forgotten the cord. Okay. Well, Danielle goes into Lindsay and Carl's room and she asks Lindsay if she's excited to come to Montauk. But it was kind of funny because in that moment, Danielle just asks Lindsay, are you excited? And Lindsay's like, about what? It could have been a question about this being the last day in the house, which means they're closer to the wedding, all of that. I don't know why. It just kind of was like, oh, okay. But Lindsay said she wasn't planning on going to Montauk. And in the after show, she did say that she had hoped she and Carl would take some time together to reset and connect, just the two of them. So Lindsay tells her that she just got her ass handed to her by Carl again, and how he was saying they have a lot to think about. And when she asked what, that he said he had concerns and doubts due to communication issues. Well, yeah, y'all. Their communication was not great. Not great, to say the least. She says she's been working really hard on her tone and to not get activated, and also that Carl feels so bad inside that he wants to make her feel bad too. And I think that's a very accurate statement. I also think it cannot be denied that Lindsay has made huge strides in not being activated. Like, I mean, can you imagine if this had all happened 3 or 4 summers ago? No way. No way. Lindsay continues telling Danielle that Carl wants a partner and a lover. God, why does that word irk me? I don't know. But that maybe he could just, like not insult her and then she'd want to be intimate and actually have sex with him. And Danielle interrupts for a second. She goes, "Are you not wearing your engagement ring?" And Lindsay just says that all of her jewelry is on the nightstand, but she is wearing those big old diamond earrings. So I'm just saying, not all of her jewelry. She says it's similar to needing to make yourself happy before you're able to help with making anyone else happy, as this is with him needing to find the confidence in himself first before expecting everyone else to fill him up with the confidence. And, she feels like it's on her to boost his confidence all the time. See, this can happen with when we strong women get into a relationship with a man who we really want to uplift, and then sometimes they rely on us to do the heavy lifting. And at a certain point, we do get a little exhausted and we're a little sore and need a break. But she's saying that she doesn't want to go to Montauk to be around him, even though she does want to be around everyone else. And she's like, I have nothing left in my tank for him. I feel like Vicky Gumbelson just was going to pop her head in and be like, what, love tank? Love tank? My love tank's full. How's your love tank, Lindsay? So they're all leaving and talking about going to Montauk. And Lindsay asks Carl if he wants to go, but she's like, I do not want a repeat of the last weekend. And everyone outside is like, wait, oh my God, Lindsay, you're coming too? What? And, oh, wow. Lindsay says, yeah, but the only caveat is that I'd like to ride with someone else there. Okay. Well, let me say this. I mean, I understand why she wouldn't want to ride with Carl over there, but this is really not the moment to be saying that. All right. It's like, from what I looked up, a 45-minute to an hour drive. So it's not like the long trek back to the city. This was definitely rude as hell to be doing out in public. Okay. Like full blown. And Lindsay goes and asks Jesse if he wants to ride in the car with Carl to Montauk. Paige just is straight up going, she doesn't want to ride home with him. She won't ride with him to Montauk. Did anyone else hear that? God, where's Craig? I need to give him the hot gossip. Well, everyone leaves, and we get what seems like should be the last scene. But, dun, dun, dun. 3 days later, Carl gets coffee with Kyle. And Carl tells Kyle that he's at a loss with him and Lindsay, being at the point that they're supposed to be getting married in 2.5 months, and that he and Lindsay's communication is just horrible. Yep. Oh my God. I'm agreeing with Carl way more than I'd like to, but I still think, you know how I feel, besties. He launches into a story about how Sunday night he and Lindsay barely spoke on their way back to the city. He says they got back to their apartment. Okay. He says He says she immediately gets out of the car hastily. I just know Carl used this word because he was practicing telling this story over and over. Thou must make haste, dear babe, for not making haste may activate thou. Quantity of sandwiches shall come into question for thee. Sorry. He says they had all this bottled water in glass bottles, and she was so hastefully trying to move shit in the back of the car. Make haste, for activation is nigh. He continues that she storms into the apartment while he's getting his stuff and that the elevator door closed in his face as he's right behind her. Okay, Carl. Sorry, are you a victim of the elevator now, too? And he then goes into the apartment right after her, and he said that he was just like, okay, I guess I'll sleep in the other room. But I thought they'd been sleeping in separate rooms, aside from while at the share house, since the week prior, Carl. He's just acting so victimized now by the idea of, oh my God, anyone asking him how his summer was and how his fiance, who he was marrying in 2.5 months, is the only person he's not gotten along with all summer. Yeah, that does suck. And then this is more, poor me. We haven't even had sex in 3 weeks. Sir, 3 weeks? I'm sorry, but anyone in a long-term relationship, if that is a long time for you, fantastic, congratulations, but give me a break. 3 weeks, we'll talk when it's 3 months, because sometimes people get busy. God, that's when you have an issue, all right? Carl says that Lindsay told him, I'm never going to change. This is how I am. And he was like, that hit me like a ton of bricks. That is a revelation that I've maybe been running from since the beginning of our relationship. Yeah, you've been running from the fact that you don't actually like Lindsay as a person in a romantic way. You didn't have to deal with her deeper emotions when you were very, very good friends. This is totally different. You've been running from the fact that you didn't actually even like her. It is fine, dandy, and wonderful to love someone and be in love with them, but you also have to like them. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Kyle asks Carl what exactly he is protecting in his relationship. Like, Kyle, are you asking him if he's being abused? Because Carl wants us to think that so badly. All right. But he's like, yeah, you're getting married in 2 months. And that even Lindsay has told Kyle that she and Carl just are talking in circles all the time. Carl says he's even referencing things, like their fights are getting so bad that he's even referencing things that happened back in January when she supposedly gave him the ring back in the middle of a fight. And he says that Lindsay claims she's grown and changed since that moment, and he can't let go of that being so hurtful. So let me get this straight, Carl. Lindsay is supposed to believe you have grown and changed from all the dirty shit you used to pull, say, do, and yet Lindsay can't possibly grow and change. Got it. Got it. It only works for Carl. See how that goes? So glad we have an understanding. But I don't know. Listen, men get they really take it to heart when a woman does something like that after I'm, giving a ring back in a moment. I think it is like, well, I did this thing. I relented and gave you a ring and asked you to marry me. So how dare you ever rescind that? Like, yes, I know it could be hurtful from all the money you spent on this ring and all the thought and effort you put into planning a proposal, things like that. But it's like, how is that any worse than you saying things to her like, I don't even know why I asked you to marry me. In fact, I would rather someone hand me a fucking inanimate object back than say the type of words we've seen you say to Lindsay. Now, Lindsay has said some really shitty things to you too, sir. I'm not going to lie about that. And I'm not going to move on without acknowledging it either. Kyle points out that Carl has known Lindsay as a friend long enough and now fiance that he needs to address it. And the very simple explanation and advice is that marriage is not going to solve any of this. Kyle asks him, you've just got to be honest with yourself. Deep down, do you want to marry her? And we get the dramatic Carl shaking his head and just, I don't know. Gosh. Oh my God, y'all, brace yourselves. The big breakup scene. If I start crying at some point, please don't hold this against me. Okay. It's an emotional week for me. And yes, you ladies, if you know, you know. So I'm extra emotional and I might cry and get extra angry. Whew. Lindsay is waiting on the sofa for him, for Carl. The look on Carl's face, I took this note about 3 times. The way he is looking at her says he is done. It wasn't going to matter if she was going to fight for it, because he kept saying in the after show and later on, oh, if she'd been like, yeah, let's work on this. I see where I am not giving you what you need here and there. Bullshit. Here we go. So he sits down and she says, okay, I'll start. And she's telling him she doesn't want to fight with him because it's not productive. And that today, the day they're filming this, today she essentially had this epiphany that maybe Carl feels like me asking questions is belittling you or thinking you're not capable. And then I was like, where did this come from? We've had so many conversations last fall where I was your sounding board for everything you were trying to figure out with Loverboy, whether you wanted to stay or quit. And then all of a sudden, in the last 2 weeks, your needs changed, which is totally fine. But simultaneously, when your needs changed, it feels like you started assuming the worst in me. Like all of a sudden, I'm the enemy for asking questions. Here's what it is. Here's what it is, besties. Here's what it is. Essentially, Lindsay was there for him when he was on his kick of villainizing Kyle and Loverboy as a whole. And then when he decided that it's going to be the easiest way to make money and shut her up about having a career to help support them, and he's wanting to be good with Kyle again, he needed a new villain. Okay? And let's take a guess at who that is. The easiest target to villainize. Because let's be real, for many years, Lindsay has been the ultimate villain of the show. Let's not, just because she got broken up with 2.5 months before her wedding doesn't take away that history. But we saw Carl manipulate her because he knew her so freaking well and then used how well he knew her against her. It's wild to me. Wild. Wild. He tells Lindsay she's not the enemy for asking questions, but that he's feeling very anxious and overwhelmed about making a career choice at the age of 40. Listen, besties, it's never too late to start over. That's not what I'm saying. But my God, sir, what did you think? Lindsay was just going to support the two of you? Why didn't you have this conversation? Told you, I'm getting heated. He says he's needed more sensitivity regarding his career choice. Then marry a Teletubby, Carl. Marry Miss Rachel. If you're a toddler parent, you know. But I don't know. Marry Elmo. Don't try and marry Lindsay Dale Hubbard. Okay. Jesus Christ in a cab. He brings a list of all the things that he feels that she has shot down. And I'm sorry, my friends, it is very difficult for me not to laugh. So you're going to have to deal with hearing and seeing me try to hold back the tears of laughter. Because I cannot believe this man is dead fucking ass serious as trying to villainize this woman for bringing his ass back down to earth on so many of these things. This list, I cannot imagine how much Lindsay has had to hear. Oh. He goes, first, we talked about sobriety, and you're saying you're pigeonholing yourself. Okay, so what you're saying here right now, Carl, is that you want to make money off of sober people who have addictive personalities and struggle with addiction. Does that not sound opportunistic in such a shitty way? To me, it does. So unless it's something that's going to make their lives easier and help them be better at what they're trying to be better at, which is a sober person, I mean, is it really that great of an idea? Do you really want to spend every day for the rest of your life continuously talking about the dark times in your addiction? Now, I thank you that I'm not dealing with this. So I don't know if that is actually something that is needed. I know in AA, you are sharing your stories over and over and over, but that's for AA, which is anonymous. Do you really want to be doing that on a daily basis as part of your work? I don't know. It's not, if there's anyone out there who, has gone through this, you can tell me and I'm all ears. Um, but to me, it feels a little counterintuitive to the aspect of, for example, AA, where you are supposed to be starting over with, not forgetting the past, but there's a reason, quote unquote, birthdays are celebrated. It's like your new birthday when you reach it each year of sobriety. So I'm just saying, I could be wrong though, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I do want to just say that. Okay, back to the funnier part. Then Carl, he randomly just says that Lindsay was like, "You're not an actor. What do you mean you want to do that?" So Carl wanted to be an actor now. Listen, I'm not laughing at anyone wanting to be an actor. Clearly, I've done my fair share of attempting this. Okay. But Carl, what? I look, it's like Carl is of that mindset of the people who are like, "Oh wow, you're attractive. Have you thought about being an actor?" Because that's literally like all it takes, right? I mean, I guess Lindsay and I have a lot in common. Because you know what? The number of times I could count that a man broke up with me because he wanted to be an actor, even though he had no experience and also open a soda shop. Woo! Because then he brings up the sober bar, also known as a soda shop. And then he just randomly says, cigars? Dude, what the? Cigars. Okay. Cool. Cool. Lindsay says they've talked about these things extensively and that over the last 2 weeks, it's essentially had an uptick in this particular issue. And he tells her that it got to where Sunday night happened. Oh my God, y'all. This. He says, "How did we get to where you pull out your phone and tell me you're going to record the conversation?" And so for a moment, it seems like, oh shit, Lindsay got caught. Maybe we were wrong. Right? Like maybe Carl is really scared and has reason to be. But she said that she's like, "Okay, well," and Carl starts telling her that he wasn't even yelling or screaming and that she just kept repeating herself. And you notice in this moment, he just keeps talking over her. And I genuinely fucking believe, yes, I dropped that F bomb and I don't care, that the look on his face where his lips pull back and he gets that like that cringe emoji a little bit, but his lips come down a bit more because his teeth are so goddamn big he can't fully cover them up. Excuse me, his veneers are. Anywho, that look, whenever she asks him if she can keep talking, that look on his face is, "You are so lucky there are cameras here because I am ready to blow up on you." And I'm sorry, but my intuition says that. I fully believe Carl gets insanely intense with Lindsay. And yes, Lindsay most likely can be very good at quote unquote innocently egging it on. Do you feel me? Like where she knows it in the back of her head, but she's not willing to fully admit that she knows she is egging him the fuck on in these moments. Told y'all, feeling intense today. Feeling intense. Okay, before I keep going, I see a hilarious comment here in the live. Let me first just say hi to a few people. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Evangelina. Hi, Kelly. And then I saw, hi, Rachel. I love what MP Dunaway said here. "You have to be able to take a lot of constructive criticism to be an actor. This guy always wants a hug." MP, girl, you are right. I spent about 10 years trying to make it as an actor in Los Angeles. And let me tell you, the criticism isn't always constructive. It's not. And that's the thing. You do have to at least take constructive criticism, and he would not. He'd want a hug at the end of every acting class. Oh my gosh, God forbid he had an audition with a casting director who was not in a good mood that day, and maybe he wore some cologne because they hate it when you wear fragrance. And yeah, it's just a small smidgen. Oh my gosh, and if he forgot a line, if the casting director looked at him and was like, "Do you want to start again?" He'd be like, could I get some softness and tenderness? I need a little more sensitivity. I'm just super overwhelmed and anxious." Like I don't know. I'm not making fun of him for wanting to be an actor. I'm making fun of him for thinking that this was whatever. Okay. All right. But yes, Carl keeps talking over her at this point, and she says she went down on a list of why she didn't want to go to Montauk and why she wanted to be chill. And really, it came down to her wanting to reconnect with Carl. She says they didn't even go on one date this summer. You're about to get married and you're not even going on a date together? Jeez, that to me is a red flag right there. One of many. One of many. But then she says, after she was going down this list, that Carl launched into all these things that she needed to do and things she needed to change about herself. And she says, when I asked you, why did you propose to me? You've known me for 8 years. Like, I'm that same person that you proposed to. I'm confused. She says that his response was, honestly, I don't know why I proposed to you. Bro, and let me say for another time, that is supposed to be considered less hurtful than handing a ring back to you 8 months ago. Okay. She says it was at that point that she told him, I should start recording you because you're saying really nasty things to me. And then she says she didn't record anything. I'm going to point one more thing out. Every major fight, except for their argument where he finally started showing his true colors at that end days, whatever party, the last party where he was looking at her, it's a fucking lot. It's been off camera. No recording devices. He has literally gaslit Lindsay and everyone else into the idea. And it's easy to do that because it's Lindsay. It's not unbelievable, right? But he has gaslit her and everyone into the idea that she is the sole root cause of every fight. And I'm willing to bet he's been a dickhead yelling at her. Okay? I don't think she's lying about that, y'all. Because her point clearly was, I am going to record you because no one is believing me. Everyone thinks I'm the loud one. I'm the only one who gets upset, and that you don't. It's like, if you won't listen to me, maybe you'll see. Maybe you'll take a look and actually see. But she continues on saying this right here. Ooh. She goes, but you started recording and then manipulated your recording by saying, stop screaming at me, Lindsay. Stop screaming at me. I'm trying to drive, Lindsay. I'm trying to drive. Oh my God. Do you know what that reminds me of? Is like those psychotic Karens who will put their phone out and pretend, like when they're getting caught being assholes, and they'll record themselves and be like, oh my God, he hit me with the car. Oh. And like, it's just them walking into the car while the car is parked. That's what that vibe is giving. I mean, can't tell me you don't see it. Now, she tells him that she is trying desperately to understand what he needs from her so she can adjust, but that it's sometimes clouded by when he gets angry and he's raising his voice and when he's slinging insults at her. So Carl tells her that he lives in two different worlds with her. He says, there's the reality, then there's what you spin the reality to be. You're really gifted at playing victim. You have been since I've known you. You motherfucker. He then says that she talks about partnership all the time and that it's not a partnership. And he tells her, it is your show that I just pay rent to be a part of. Again, you motherfucker. She says she's been listening to him for the past 2 weeks when his needs have changed. And she's like, hey, can you give me a little grace here? I'm trying my best. And he says that this has been going on since they've dated and that he feels very controlled by her on his career choices. If it's been going on since you've been dating, why did you propose? Rein it in. Y'all, I'm feeling heated and passionate. He says that she over questions him, bulldozes him, and says that she has called him all sorts of different things. Now, if she did say these things, then that's really shitty. You don't say these things to your partner. How about that? He says, you've called me a little bitch. You've called me a little baby, a little mama's boy, run home to your parents. I mean, that last part, did we not get an entire scene, like half of an episode where he ran back to his parents? Okay. But those other things, you know. She asks where this is all coming from in the last 2 weeks. But something I do want to point out, you notice one, Carl does not deny that he was manipulating that recording. And two, Lindsay also does not deny that she said these things. They've been really awful to each other. He goes, he says to her when she asks where this is coming from the last 2 weeks, he says, where have you been in our relationship for the last 12 months? Look back at your text messages. Look at the things you've said to me. And then, if I was feeling bad for Carl for a second, it's gone. I cannot freaking believe he said this to her. I cannot. You can think something like this all you want, but to say this out loud, it's just, yeah. He says to her, I don't think you trust me. I think you think I'm going to relapse. I think that you want me to relapse. I think you want me to fall back so you can control me even more. Yo, are you kidding me? You just said that you think she wants you to relapse so that she can have more control over you. I'm sorry, but I think she would have far less control over you if you relapsed, Carl. You were out of control when you were not sober. So, as a matter of fact, you are counter-arguing your own argument. The absolute audacity. Now, when Lindsay, again, when she accused him of not being sober, that was horrific. I do think she was questioning that because of the intense anger he was displaying off camera, mind you, because I think those cameras keep Carl Radke in check now that he is sober. Before, they egged him on when he was not sober. Now they keep his ass in check. Because do you notice how much he looks into camera now? He's much more self-conscious, and I think that happened with him in his sobriety, which is understandable. Sure, it was easier to forget about the cameras when you were not sober, but my point being, it keeps him in line. And I think that when she was accusing him of not being sober, and I'm not excusing it whatsoever, I still think that was shitty. But I do think it was because, remember, she said it was like he was cocaine Carl because he would display that anger and that intense emotion. And that's why she was accusing him of that. Wow. He says he's at the point where he doesn't know what to do, and they've been trying to make it work, but they continue to trigger and hurt each other. And he says, I don't want to live like that. We're supposed to be married in 2.5 months, and I'm not ready to do that.
I don't feel comfortable. I'm hurt and I'm really unhappy. I don't think our communication is going to improve. At what point do you look in the mirror and say, this is not going to work out?
Here's the problem too. Like Lindsay is hung up on what happened in the last 2 weeks. Anyone with eyes can see it wasn't the last 2 weeks. But he just got more aggressive with it in the last 2 weeks because filming was wrapping up and his deadline to make her look like a lunatic on television was coming to a close. She tells him that her resolution isn't just to automatically quit and that there are 15 things that they can do before they quit. And she's like, "Why do you think they say relationships take work?" He tells her, "I understand that, but to me, the fights we have are not normal." And yeah, again, here I am agreeing with Carl, but I agree wholeheartedly with him on that for both sides. They are not normal fights. They are nasty, they are cutting, and they are dirty. He says, "I cannot live like that. I cannot commit." He says, "I cannot live like that. I cannot commit to going to couples therapy for the rest of my life. I can't live like that. You can't either. And if that's not something you want to commit to, listen, you don't have to. You don't." Okay. She tells him that he's clearly already made the decision and come to a decision on his own, and that this is just him telling her about his decision. She's like, "What more do you want from me? Do you want me to fight right now for this relationship? I'm not going to beg you to be with me. If you've already made the decision, which it sounds like you already have." And my God, Carlos Radke cannot have any confrontation without going tit for fucking tat. Oh, he makes me nuts how he does this. I'm sorry. This is one of the most infuriating things someone can do in a fight. And I just, oh my God. Because he immediately, when she says this, he goes, "I'm not going to beg you to be with me either. That's what I feel like I have to do." Carl, come up with your own thing to say. Quit fucking stealing everything Lindsay says, turning it around on her. God, you know what? I should have been in that room. God damn it. They would have gotten no clean audio. But she's just kind of like, "You know what? You've made that decision." And all he does is say, "Yeah." He's just telling her clearly he doesn't make her happy. He doesn't support her in the way that she wants and needs him to. And she's like, "I don't understand. You're just ending things because that's easier than actually both of us putting in the hard work that relationships require." And he says that he already put in the hard work, but here they are again and again and again and again. And he tells her, "I don't think you trust me. I think you think I'm going to relapse. I think you think I'm not capable as a human being to make money." Well, Carl, then make some money. Show us you're capable as a human being to make money. Thank you. And then he says, "I think you think I'm sensitive and not a man. I think you think I lack confidence. I think you think I have an anger problem. I have a relationship problem. You do have an anger problem. You do lack confidence. What the hell, Carl? Why is it her fault that these are your issues?" Such an asshole. I'm sorry. This is where any moments of agreeing with him, I just get right back. And she's like, "Okay, well, you know what? There's no more point to this conversation. You've made the decision clear." And when she gets up and walks into her bedroom, a sound guy goes in behind her after she, kind of like stormed off in there. He's like, "Hey, Lindsay, just coming to check if you're all right." She's like, "I don't know what they fucking want from me." And she's talking about production. Excuse me. Because listen, she's basically at this point like, I had the conversation. Okay. I had the conversation. What more do y'all want from me? Now, something I will add is I was sitting there going, how was Lindsay blindsided by this? If production was called, she was mic'd up, she knew they were filming. I think personally, she did not think he was going to show up and break up with her. I think she thought they were going to show them trying to resolve the biggest fight they'd ever had. I think that she believed that they were going to kind of show them journey to the wedding, because you can't tell me that they weren't planning to film some of that wedding. Give me a break. I'm sorry, but I feel like this wedding had become a bigger deal than even Kyle and Amanda's wedding, which, God, don't let Kyle hear that. Don't let Kyle hear that. But Lindsay calls her dad and she tells him they had the conversation because she probably, again, was like, Dad, I don't know why we're picking up cameras again, whatever. And she tells him that Carl just really wasn't looking to repair anything and he was in it to call off the wedding and break up. And her poor dad, he's just like, oh boy. Dads, God. So in the kitchen, a producer is asking Carl if he just needs a little time after all that. And he's acting like, well, like he's very shaken up by his decision to do this. But he's saying that he knows relationships are hard, but he's questioning his own sanity. And this is, again, I feel weird, but one of the only moments I am fully on his side with this in particular, because both he and Lindsay were allowing their mutual behavior to become normal. And it's not. It's normal is probably not even the right word. To become their standard of normal. Because that's not it, and that's not a healthy thing. Okay. You can kind of hear. So I'm sorry. Then he says he feels crazy because he knows his version of events, then he hears hers, and hers sound different to him. Well, Carl, again, that's why they say there are always three stories: his side, her side, and the truth. Okay. You can hear Lindsay on the phone with her dad from the kitchen, and she's telling her dad basically everything that she just told Carl, essentially, about how relationships take work. You got to be willing to grow together, take accountability, all of that. And Carl tells the producer that he doesn't want to hurt Lindsay and that he wants it to work, but knows it can't. And Lindsay's poor father is on this phone having no goddamn idea what to say to her. And now you can fully hear everything she is saying in the bedroom where she's like, it is completely unfair. Carl points out that he can hear her and that despite what she's saying, it isn't all of a sudden. He says she's blind to all the fights over the last year and says they've gotten noise complaints about the fighting. Okay, well, sir, your voice, your freaking baritone ass voice from your 6'9", whatever. I know he's not 6'9", but body. I'm sure it carries pretty well as much as her shrill shrinking. Okay. But he goes on to say that she's going to spin this. I mean, she's going to tell everybody she's blindsided. She's caught off guard. I'm going to be the asshole again. My life will be canceled, but she'll be the fallen woman who everybody's going to feel sorry for her. So this is what it has been about all summer. Right here, Carl was trying his damnedest to activate Lindsay so that he wouldn't look like the asshole that who? Tom Sandoval did. They have mentioned Scandoval on this season multiple times. All right. Lindsay has done the work to not get fully activated. And so she never fell for it. Did she say some really shitty things? And can she be a monster? Yes. But she never went full-blown activated on him the way he wanted and needed her to in order to save his ass. Carl, you should have kept your goddamn mouth shut. You're just as bad as Sandoval in that regard. In continuing to attempt to cover your ass, you blow your cover. But thank you for blowing your cover, because what we all, I think, suspected all along is exactly what you gave us. Thank you. Okay. Then we see 48 hours later. Dun, 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 dun. All the headlines saying that they called off the engagement with little bits like, quote unquote, toxic people, photographed looking somber, cameras picked back up, etc. Y'all, the rumors during that time were wild. You want to talk about who did get activated? The Bravo fandom. We all lost our ever-loving minds. Scandoval ruined our brains. Our tiny little Bravo brains were just popping. Remember hearing the whole thing? Oh, yeah, Carl had a mistress who was pregnant at a lover boy party. I talked to her in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but I think it's bullshit. It all got really intense. Okay, we all went nuts. So now we're at Daniel's apartment. And Paige and Amanda show up. The way, y'all, I would be like, oh my God, we're picking cameras back up to film again. I just finally let my spray tan fade. Because y'all know your girl would be doing the spray tan and lots of sunscreen all summer because I'm white and I burn. Gosh, I'm all over the place today. Excuse me. I'm here. I'm back. So the girls have champagne and Prosecco, and Danielle's like, I've never hosted one of these before. And Paige points out how wild it is to find things out about yourself online or about your friends online rather than directly from them. And Paige was also saying that she didn't think it was true. And she's like, we were all together on Sunday. Like, what in the world? And Danielle tells them that Lindsay and Carl were not good on Sunday and that they were fighting and that they sat in silence in the car for 2 hours going home. Woo! Y'all, I cannot think of a more miserable car ride. I think I'd rather for a car ride, I think I'd rather have my toddler blow out his diaper in the back seat and have to pull over on the highway to clean it for 2 hours while vomiting and having a possum lick my ankle than be in a car ride like that. That is how passionately I feel about the misery that this type of car ride is, if you know, and been in a car ride like that, hell no. No, thank you. Take the possum licking my, don't even ask. Okay, just don't ask. I have problems. Paige asks Danielle how she heard, and Danielle tells her it was Thursday morning, that she woke up in Montauk at 7 a.m. to a text from Lindsay saying, we broke up and we're not getting married. And this is where Danielle's trying to stay on course for filming without knowing how they were, going to play the timeline out. But Amanda confirms that this day that they're filming is Friday because she's like, oh, it was yesterday that you got the text. And Amanda starts doing this thing where she's like, so you didn't know? Which Danielle confirms she was driving when Instagram blew up, and that's how Paige found out too. Amanda tells them that Kyle got a call from production on Tuesday night saying, hey, we want to film something with you and Carl tomorrow morning. And that on Wednesday, Kyle went to go meet with Carl, and when he came back that night, he told her it wasn't looking good. Now, in the after show too, Amanda says that she told Kyle, like, look, don't give him any advice of what to do one way or the other. Just be there for him, whatever it is you need to, do. Gabby shows up in heels and pajamas, and she looked chic, okay? Not gonna lie. Paige says that she texted Carl, but not Lindsay. Interesting. Paige says she texted Carl saying, love you, Carl. You'll be okay. And this is what Carl wrote back. Thanks, Paige. Love you too. Absolute nightmare with leaks and everything. I feel horrible that it's like I blindsided her, maliciously had cameras set up so I can break things off, which is not what I was trying to do. It's really interesting how Carl was saying Lindsay would do her PR thing to try and get ahead of it and spin things, yet he had to send that whole entire ass message to Paige, who he already knows doesn't like Lindsay. Paige says she feels bad for both of them, which to a certain extent, yes, I do feel bad for both of them. You don't want to see anyone do that, go through the engagement and all that shit. No way. And Paige looks at Gabby and asks, oh, you don't feel bad for Carl? Let's get into that. Look at Paigey producing. And Amanda is suddenly very defensive of Carl, like very. And Amanda asks Gabby why. Gabby says he knows what he was doing. And Paige tells her he did them both a favor. They should have never been getting married. He shouldn't have proposed to her, which this is where, again, I agree. I agree with it. Carl, all of it. Carl doing this, someone had to do it. Okay. Someone had to. And I don't know. I don't know if it would have been, it might have been a really great empowerment moment for Lindsay to do it. Okay, I don't know. But Gabby tells them that Carl had said some real effed up shit to Lindsay on Sunday. And Amanda counters that by saying they both say screwed up shit to each other from both sides. And Amanda says that you have to look at their whole relationship from the summer and that there's no one bad guy. It's starting to feel like Gabby and Amanda are ramping up to go toes with each other on it. And I will be honest. I think that Gabby is so goddamn well expressed with her words and has a vocabulary and verbal arsenal that is leagues above everyone else on this show. And I think the world of Paige, but Gabby she has her little inserts, things like don't discount Gabby in a moment like this, okay? And two, I believe that Amanda was 1000% coached by Kyle before going over to Danielle's. Because remember, Kyle it gets upset when people don't quote unquote bring it. So Gabby says, I'm not saying he's wrong for breaking up with her. He's fucked for still not talking to her about it. And Amanda, very defensively, I might add, goes, he's trying to give her space. Gabby is annoyed. And Amanda just kind of, she's like, oh my God, Amanda, come on. So Sierra arrives. And Amanda says, we're talking about two different things right now. We're talking about the way that he did it and just the bigger picture, which is that we're really sad that two people we're all friends with that loved each other very much are no longer getting married. Listen, they all agree it's better to call off a wedding than get divorced. Yeah, but also the deposit's been made. They're non-refundable, my friends. And they most likely would have made a lot of money in brand deals from this wedding, and that would have at least probably brought in money plus paid for an annulment. I'm just saying, not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm just a thought. But also remember this allegedly happened like 2 days before or after it was too late to cancel the bookings in the room block for Mexico. Like, come on. Come on. So, lost my place. Excuse me. Yes. Carl was this was the other thing is Carl was so against doing the hard thing, like anything that required effort like this, that he waited until the very last moment. Okay. So Gabby says, no, we do have to talk about the way that Carl did it because they don't know why they broke up. And Amanda, honestly, I love Amanda. I really, really do. But like she's arguing with Gabby unnecessarily. And she's going so hard for Carl. Like, why? Why? Let your husband do that. You love to stay out of it when it involves the other women, but why are you defending the men? Amanda, genuinely, I adore you. Quit defending the men. Be on the right side of history, goddammit. But it's just more arguing of like, oh my God, no, we do know why they broke up, Gabby. And their communication issues were too far surpassed anything. And therapy isn't helping it. Okay. Then clearly, after Sierra's come in, she's quiet, but then she clearly got coached by production out in the hallway. She had a producer being like, listen, see on this monitor? Do you see what's happening? Danielle has kept her mouth shut thus far. She's got the biggest opinion of anyone. You go in and you ask her what she thinks. And guess what? Sierra said, okay. And she went in and she said, can we pause for a second? Because I would love to hear Danielle's thoughts. Just because obviously last year was what it was. And says she wouldn't tell her to have, an I told you so moment regarding Lindsay and Carl, but that she wants to hear from her. And Danielle's like, I would never do an I told you so. Okay. Because she and Lindsay are in a good place right now. And she doesn't want to mess with that. But Danielle says that when Lindsay told her about the breakup, that she was crying and her heart was broken for her. But that this exact thing is literally what she was wanting to avoid last summer. And points out how Lindsay was trying on her wedding dress a week later, they're not together. And Gabby points out how Carl was at the bridal shower and posting about it. And it says, Gabby's like, no, the way he did it, unforgivable. Amanda says, what was he supposed to do though? If Carl did it without any emotion, it would have been weird. Carl could have done something like not shown up to the bridal shower in white pants. You're not the bride, sir. That's number one. You could have worn your white pants, white suit that is about to split at the seams elsewhere. Wear it at home. You could have stayed at home. Instead, you show up because you want to look like you were the most perfect angelic groom. Oh, Carl. And Lindsay's such a monster. Then Amanda continues on saying, do you know how fucking hard it must have been for him to do this? Like, he must have really been feeling a certain way. Like, I could never do what he did. Like, it takes so much strength. Uh, we know, Amanda, because you still married Kyle. Just saying. Mhm. 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 Gabby goes, "It takes something. I wouldn't call it strength." I love it. I love Gabby. I really, really do. Then the doorbell rings. Dun, dun, dun. The way they all just sit there acting shocked as hell that the doorbell would ring. I can't imagine who else would be showing up. Is that you, Lauren Workus? But yeah, production made Lindsay ring the doorbell so she could interrupt it. And, they could get clean sound as soon as she walked in. Just a FYI. So the girls, Lindsay's walking in all swollen and crying, and the girls are just like, "Oh my God, it's like so sad." And then they say they didn't expect her to be crying, which, what did you expect her to be doing? Cartwheels into the apartment? I just, Paige gives her a hug and she's telling her, "He did you a favor, please. You did not want to marry that man anyway. Let him go." And it's a big group hug. And I don't know what it was, but I was fully tearing up over this. It was beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. Makes me a little teary-eyed. A little teary-eyed right now. But I love how Paige cut the tension. She did. Just as they're in this huge sandwiched group hug. Oh my God, it was a sandwich hug for Lindsay. How many sandwich hugs have you given me? Sorry, I couldn't help it. But Paige is like, "This is what you get for not inviting me to your wedding." Honestly, that is some shit I would say too. And then I'd be like, "And this is what he gets for having a small penis," or something. That's the best I would be able to do in the moment. But Lindsay says she was trying to invite her, and Paige is like, "I'll get the next one." And Lindsay says she just more of the same, of how she can't understand how someone could do this to their best friend of 8 years and how he absolutely humiliated her. In this moment, the look on Amanda's face. Ooh, Amanda, girl. She was looking at her like, really? Well, I know something that you don't know I know. And, I'm sorry. Lindsay tells them that Carl blindsided her without warning and didn't even consider what he was doing. Now, see, here's the thing. I'll disagree with Lindsay. I think he did know what he was doing and had been considering it for a long time. In fact, he was trying his best to set her up. Whether it was consciously or subconsciously, he wanted her to look like the activated sandwich psycho as best he could. Lindsay points out that he knew her and has always known her. And she says, "Oh my God, that she's always loved him, and all the dumb boys that she dated, she was comparing them to Carl and waiting for him to figure it out. She was waiting patiently for him." And she says that he shouldn't have said he was ready when he wasn't because she has loved him for so long. And she says that they just had some fights toward the end of the summer. And oh my God, Amanda, talking about time and place. Why are you writing so fucking hard for Carl, Amanda? I love you to death, truly. I adore you. I think I really do like you. But why? Why are you writing for Carl? Question. But Amanda's like, "Well, you guys have been fighting for a while, though. Like, not even a while. Shit was not good." Hey, Jesus, Amanda, time and place. Time and place, babe. Love you. Mean it. Time and place, though. Paige tells Lindsay again that Carl did her a favor, and she's like, "Let him go. In a year, you could be married with a baby," which, like, true. She continues saying that Lindsay had accepted this whole thing as her life, as in, just the fighting and couples therapy and going round and round and round, but just let him go. And then they ask Lindsay what she wants to do regarding Mexico and if she still wants to go. And they agree, let's do a Sex in the City girls trip to Mexico. And Lindsay says she can finally give Paige her invite. And it ends on a really great note with all the girls, even though you can still feel the tension. That's like the circle of Amanda, Gabby, and Lindsay that's eventually going to turn into a big giant circle. The reunion coming up looks pretty intense. It is just a lot more of the he said, she said. And I don't know about y'all, but I could not help but crack the hell up when Andy asks who thinks that Carl was afraid of Lindsay. And even Carl and Andy raise their hands. Facts. Facts. Besties, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to give some shout outs again here in the comment section. Just say hi to a few of you if you haven't already joined the comment section. If you want to get that little shout out or just join the conversation, please do so. And here we go. Hi, Miriam again. Hi, Evangelina. Hi, Kelly. I see Rachel, MP, and Art World. I see a few more names. I did at least, but again, thank you, besties, for joining the conversation. Come join me and Giorgio live on YouTube at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, 12 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. We are going to have just like a piping hot, steaming gossip session and talk a little bit of New Jersey because there's not much to fully recap there, but there's a lot to chat about, if that makes sense. And while I'm bringing it up, be sure and check out my little merch shop that's on Etsy. It's Pop Culture Besties. It will be linked into the show notes. Lots of fun designs from as many of the franchises and shows as I can get in there. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, especially if you're watching here. Like this video. Leave a 5-star review wherever it is you listen to Besties by Bravo. Follow at Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin, on Instagram and TikTok. And again, please join on Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there. And I will be chatting, I believe, the Valley on Giorgio Talkinox's Patreon tomorrow because we get that finale tonight. Whew. It's going to be good. Even though we don't get a reunion, they should, I know they can't like do this, but they should take that reunion that was going to go to New Jersey and give it to the Valley. Do you know how many people are upset about this? Bravo, NBCU. Damn it. Anyway, all right, besties, thank you again for joining, and I will see you on Thursday.